Yamina Poirot Cranime, Yere Abiye Hector Goma, Mingba Wakirike Radio, and Bo Omnawari Malasam. Wasi Otoroko Bo Piki Duko Wasamama Ario Kwengbolo, Wasa Nichenre, and Se Ibi Gose. Che Gose wa Mimi Woyao, Tatariye Atelise Mena Semina na Eremina Wana Wodie. Mesokuma insone ama belema dumo wonyana biako. Mankarama ye mina mama digidikara puma. Ini wapo kero kuma. Twa miena gba ye ini wona se piki inida se firibie chubia. Trekarama ye mine kreke bese bie pakabo tuwini mangba. Mina kubie majike wasise se bibio gboso barabo Frideki wengi mina mama ibibia baragose. Ine nkaramaye. Bo minina okwara po deki wengi bifrema wakele wonduko belema biabara. Mingba erena okwen biabo ane mina ibi mina bo toro fiafia Engineer Dr. Joshua Gogo. Mina numbro Ibosa. Joshua, it's really good to see you. Honestly, I am delighted that you're here with us to look at issues that will project ourselves in positive light. Now, you're as a person, in a way, you are simple, humble, but also you have an intimidating profile. You're an engineer, you're an economist, you're a financial analyst, you're a computer scientist. That's really intimidating, to say the least. Can you tell us more about yourself?
I thank God for everything. I mean, this type of questions usually put me on the spot because I don't know how to talk about myself. Besides saying, I was born and raised in Okreka, and of course, in Port Harcourt, and my undergraduate education was in Port Harcourt. So I love Okreka very much, very, very much. Yeah, I have a wife and a daughter and a mother and siblings, a lot of friends, a lot of relatives. So the people around me have always supported me. And yeah, I've always looked forward to what is good for Wakirike, and I always look for opportunities to give back to Wakirike, because one of those that you will say I have gained a lot from Wakirike, whether from my nursery school, boys' day school, or Cricket Grammar School. It's all Wakirike in the days that you would say people were actually sowing into our lives. And so sometimes it saddens me that we have not been able to give back what we actually took from Wakirike. Yeah.
Great. Now, looking again, you after your first degree at then University of Science and Technology, Port Harcourt, now Rivers State University in '95, you went on to Florida, and you did a master's in computer information systems, and then you went on to do another master's and a PhD in Carleton University. Right. How would you say your education has made a difference in society?
Um, Now, growing up, to understand that, it would be good to understand my movement from engineering to economics.
Okay.
Um, to I grew up in Port Harcourt, and being science oriented in the day that the oil and gas in industry till today is still ubiquitous. It's everywhere. It's as if everybody needed to be in the industry. And as a science oriented person in secondary school, it appeared to me. I mean, that was the environmental pressure that you just needed to be an engineer and find yourself in the oil and gas industry. So that's what we responded to. That's what I responded to, and I became an engineer. But then, thank God, when as soon as I graduated, soon after I graduated, I got a job with an international oil company, Schlumberger, um, which gave me the opportunity to move around the world, and that also gave me certain perspectives and also allowed me to really discover myself, and what I really am. And although growing up I was social oriented, I was in society. I was visible in society as a youth, as a student. I was in student leadership, student unionism, student union. However, being an engineering student, it was difficult not to pay attention to professionalism and to be an engineer, really. But when I took time to discover myself after, uh, in the course of traveling around, I realized that I am actually about society. It also enabled me to think about the Niger Delta or
Mm,
Krika and see,
mm,
okay, where will my where and how will I be of use to my society? That's what drove me to economics too, because I believe that economics, and correctly after the fact, that it enables you to not see what is happening in society, but why it is happening.
mm,
You are able to understand how society works, how human beings work, what motivates human beings, and the foundations of society, really. Um, and soon after that, my first contribution to the Niger Delta was to study the Niger Delta militancy issue, the shadow economy of the illicit oil, to understand the foundations of the Niger Delta problem. And so my dissertation, while in economics, actually was to to look at the intersection of economics, politics, public policy, um, and public choice, right? So that intersection is usually the most complex intersection from which to understand what is going on in societies. So I, with the Niger Delta in mind, I built a unique model to understand the problem of society. That the view from most perspective has been partial. Now, by looking at the intersection of public policy, economics, politics, and public choice, you're able to see how all the actors in society, with particular attention to to Nigeria and the Niger Delta specifically, are coming together to play, and why it is so much of a challenge. Um, the first thing from that point was to work with SPDC, right?
mm.
To use that to understand the issues in the Niger Delta. And SPDC was shocked to find out uh, how they've not looked at it from this type of dimensions. And funny enough, in that meeting I was presenting, and some of these people I either retired or they moved on to much bigger roles in the shell structure.
Mm.
I told them, from what I see from the predictions of my model, you have less than 5 years, you'll be kicked out of the Niger Delta. You've reached a tipping point. If I go with the predictions of what I am seeing and from the data I've gathered on the ground. So incidentally, within 5 years, the SPDs started exiting the Niger Delta. Within 5 years, they've sold all their, they started selling. And so while it has not led to actually, it has not been, my work has not been really, has not formed a center point in the approach to resolving the Niger Delta issue. It has been presented at the highest level of Nigerian government. It has been presented at the table of all the multinationals seated together. It has formed a kind of thinking in the industry. I've used the model to help a number of the indigenous companies to build better relationship with their communities, with their host communities. And I know that at least two have been so successful because they use the model. I help them build. So these are some of the contributions that my education has brought. Now, there's always the thing that I have not paid much attention to actually pursue it as a cause of life, to promote it, but in cycles that is being looked at, is being seen.
Okay, now between 2009 and 2010, you worked in River State's Sustainable Development Agency.
Mm-hmm.
You were manager of strategy and planning, human capital development, and healthy living, and all that. So, can you throw some light on your experience there?
Well, that is one of the areas I wanted to go, and actually, when I said unfortunately it has not been. So when I saw the core problems of the Niger Delta, especially River State, I was really glad when RSSD was formed, by sheer support from friends and introduction. I was privileged to be part of the early team, right? And it was really, for me, a way of changing things. It was an opportunity to really turn things around. I understand I understand politics, but I'm not a politician in thinking.
And then became a politics here.
Yeah. So when I got there and I saw the opportunity, I was passionate about it. I took on a bit of role, the scholarship, one of it to clean up, and it really strengthened it, built institutions around it, and the time that I managed it to the time I stopped managing it, people who got it will know that, yeah, I got it, right? And as far as the institution is concerned, I found that RSSD as something that, as an organization, as an institution that could be used to actually change the life of the people. The politics of it didn't let it happen. The politics of the RSSD and Kubernetes, the stakeholders, the stakeholdership is still, I mean, it's River State, it's Nigeria. So it has its own issues. Um, I would have, for me, RSSD is opportunity lost. It's opportunity lost. The River State had the opportunity to really fix things, um, because it enjoyed core professionals who were really out to make things happen, to make changes. But it's an opportunity lost, I would say. So at the point that I discovered that, but I'm not in the Niger Delta for a job or for work or for appointment. So I would rather spend my time somewhere else that will bring real change to society,
Mm.
rather than somewhere for the purpose of being there. So I left. And but before I left, I looked at everything, and I told may his soul rest in peace, the executive director then, that, wow, from my perspective, you have 2 3 years and you'll be dead. This place will be dead,
Mm.
right? In 2 3 years. Why? Because this is what I see around you. This is the path you're on. Um, it would be miraculous to be on this path with these things around you and for this organization to survive. So I won't be here. This is where I think we should be going. This is why I am here. Yeah, there are different paths to achieving something, but I don't see the path. I don't see, um, from the path you're on, I don't see how you're going to achieve what you say you're going to achieve. So the end of what I see is that this place will be gone.
Mm.
It's not sustainable. So I left, and within 3 years, it was gone.
Mm. Let's talk about your passions. Now, since 2017, I see that you've been a member of the board of directors of King's Kids Promotion, which is, I guess, something you do in the voluntary social sector. I guess it's a passion you have. Can you tell us some of the things you've done in the King's Kids Community Development Organization?
King's Kids is a King's Kids Promotion is a non-for-profit social organization, where here in the community I live in, Alberta. It's one of the one of the core community leaders who set it up, after a bit of interactions, asked me to join. That he really would like someone like me. My passion for people close to me, 3 things really. What really drives me, what moves me, what are 3 things: God, family, and country. That is community, right? God, family, and community. Now, for me, family includes friends and relatives, because I have few, and so the few friends I have are considered family for me. So in that order, and that is probably why people don't see me in a whole lot of noisy things, because when it comes to community, I'm into it. It moves me. It's so when this leader asked me to join him, I saw it as an opportunity to contribute to community. Now, we are a community radio station. We do, there are a whole lot of indigenous communities around the city, and the community itself, the city itself, is a small city. So yeah, we are very passionate about youth development, community development. We love God, we love people, and so we we put it to practice in the way that we mobilize. And we've been doing a whole lot of organization. And one of the things we've done is to plant a church, to better reflect today's um, to their own church in society. Now there are a whole lot of churches in the community, but we need to have a church. When we discover that a church is needed because there are so many unchurched people,
Mm,
and so a ministry was and then eventually the radio station we devolved it to amalgamate it with a bigger radio station that has a network across North America. So that our station will be part of that network. Part of the reason we did it was that so that local programming
mm,
uh, will be on the network also, and then the city also will be at least will be seen and known on the network.
okay.
So we yeah.
That's the Bridge Community Radio, right?
Yeah, that's the bridge. The
Okay.
bridge community radio now
Yeah.
is part of the uh,
UCB.
UCB.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So let's come down home to our beloved Kirike Bese.
Mhm.
What are your hopes and your fears for the Wakirike people?
Yeah, first, the fears. All right. I think my biggest fear and worry um, for Wakrik is as a people is extinction.
Mm,
Um, extinction, whether we like it or not, has happened all over the world. Since 1980, more than 50 languages have disappeared on Earth, right? 50. And, with them, the culture of the people and all that, right? And this is just since 1980. So, first, we're part and integrated into an urban center, Port Harcourt, right?
mm,
Which is very cosmopolitan. Um, what kept Okreka to this point was the strength of our culture, our ability to absorb other culture while keeping it pure. If you look at our forefathers, the way they did it very well. I mean, think about the family structure, the family system, how we have, I mean, most of the places that try to integrate with, for instance, Igbo culture, we are taking over. Think about
mm,
the Banese and Bonese, but Okreka, as urban, as near to Port Harcourt as it was, maintained its purity, right?
mm,
And it's strong. But that was deliberate. Recent evolutions have not taken that turn. And my fear is that unless we are deliberate about preserving our way of life, our culture, we're going to lose it and we're going to be extinct. And there will be no sympathy from anywhere for that. And because that is how the world is. Right? So that's my biggest fear. My hope and my hope really is that we will be able to at some point um, recognize how blessed we've been, our resources, being on the coast, stretching outwards in a way that is unbounded, seaward unbounded, being able to find a way to nurse our natural resources to build um, a life, a way of life, an economy that is also coherent and consistent with our culture, that in a way will preserve our culture. Our forefathers did it. They had all these fishing ports. They extended all the way to Cameroon with fishing ports. But their occupation, their way of life preserved their culture in a way that our cultural festivals were all marine, right? And
mm,
so their marine life, the way they harnessed the natural resources was all coherent with the culture and the way of life, and so it was mutually preserving, right? Now in today's world, we have to yes, modernize our economy. We have to modernize our way of life. But we have to do it deliberately in a way that also preserves our culture.
Mm.
Right? Religion came. When religion came, it was absorbed, embraced in a way that preserved the culture. Right?
Mm.
In a number of societies, there was huge conflict, and it was either one or the other. But our fathers were able to integrate, contain it or evolve with it in a way that it was mutually preserving. So, but we have not. I don't think we've thought about it, in this way to be deliberate about it. Hence the fear. I think whenever we are able to think about it and we are able to be deliberate about it, we'll be able to do that and develop as a people. And that is my hope.
Right. Now, looking at what you do most recently, you're focused on developmental and implementing strategy and other things, more or less to improve the bottom line results and achieve vision of organizations. You've been in the part of Wakirike Development Coalition, at least in the periphery, and you've seen how things have been in the last decade. So just putting you on the spot, how, from your observations, how can things improve in Wakirike Development Coalition?
I think for me, I'm an institutionalist. I'm an institution builder.
Mm.
Right? I believe that human beings are drivers of institutions. They are operators of institutions. They are operators of organizations, and they are not the organization. Right? The driver of a car is not the car.
Mm.
Right? The capacity to transport people is in the car, not in the driver. Right? And so thinking again about the car, I believe in building an organization separate from the individuals who operate it in a way that, like a car, you can always bring any driver to drive it.
Mm.
Right? It cannot be that without a driver, the car is not able to move, a particular driver.
True.
You can always bring a driver to drive the car. Is the car that takes you to where you're going. The driver only operates it. This is what I would like to see with the Wakirike Development Coalition. Second, what that also will allow you to do is to begin to conceive of things that are bigger than the current drivers of the vehicle. Begin to conceive of some things that cannot be achieved in the lifetime of the current drivers. Right? Begin to think of things that are bigger than the capacity of the individuals running it. Because what? We are talking about the capacity of the organization, not the capacity of the individuals.
Mm.
So then once we're in that frame, what we'll begin to do is that they will begin to conceive of the organization as an independent entity with its own life. And then we can begin to conceive of it as an entity that is alive in perpetuity.
Mm.
The moment we start thinking of it as an entity that is alive and will be there in perpetuity, then we can ask it to do things that will outlive us. We can be deliberate about intergenerational continuity, successions. We can lay out leadership and operators of the organization for the next 50 years and just conceive of big things that will be achieved in 20, 50 years. Why? Because it doesn't matter whether they are achieved while we are alive. we already have the next generation to continue it. And they will do it because it's a vision of the organization, of the people, not a vision of one person, not a vision of few individuals. That we only work with them because we like their faces and because they are around. They did. We don't. They are not there. We just do something else, right? So this is what I would like for the Wakirike Development Coalition to gradually move it to the core, to the center of the people's aspirations, right? And in the same way that we believe that Kirikese is in perpetuity, the institutions we can set them up to be like that, so that they can be coherent, they can be consistent between what it is trying to achieve for the people and what it is. You can't have someone with a lifespan of 50 years or 20 years to achieve something for a people that that have been existing for centuries or for centuries. There's an inconsistency.
Yeah. Now, I'm going to ask you should I say, pivotal question. And before I do that, I want to recognize the fact that, Joshua, you were featured in the top 100 magazines 2020 top 100 Canadian professionals. And that's no mean feat, you know. I know you're a humble amateur and all that, but that's no mean feat. And I want to ask you a question that imagine we had, and that's Wakirike said, imagine that we had an organization where you are the head of the whole Wakirike organization and you don't have any limitations. The buck stops with you. And you had 1 year to get something started that would benefit every Wakirike community, every Wakirike man, woman, child, young person. If you're in that kind of position at the head of Kirikebese, with your leadership hat on, what would you do in your first year, and why would you choose to do that?
That's a tough one. Again, you know, this is the perspective of someone who believes in institutions. I think deeply that for the most part, if you want to achieve, if a people wants to achieve something, it is the institution, the organization that will achieve it, the aspirations of. So the first thing, in the 1 year, which is a short period to solve any problem, the thing I will focus on is governance and institution building. You know, you want to build a way of solving problem, right? Yeah. Not focusing on any one problem, because at any given time, society has so many problems, and over time, the problems will evolve, new problems will come, and the old problems will die down. Some will stay on, some are capable of destroying the people. Other problems are really no problem. They are problems because today's human beings think they are problems. Tomorrow's human beings will not think they are problems. So in that case, what for me is paramount is a governance system that the people can look into the institutional foundations of that governance system, and it will reflect their aspirations. It will reflect their collective passion and collective aspirations or goals, right? And it embodies, having embodied the aspirations of the people, it will be organized in a way that it is a way of solving problems. It is a way of governing the people. It is a way of a body of rules, a way of moving the people towards their aspiration, towards their dreams. Hence, when you are gone, it doesn't have to, because you are not solving problems. You are just creating a way of solving problems, right? So, which means that any problem could be thrown at it, and it will find a solution for it. For instance, our institutions that governed cricket, some of them are obsolete, some of them are not, but they need to evolve to reflect today's aspirations. They need to evolve to reflect today's challenges. Um, what then we need is a way of bringing all the governance systems in the cricket together, in a way that they embody the aspirations of the people, and that they are capable of unearthing the people's strengths, the resources, and then develop them in a way that the people can achieve what their dreams are, their aspiration to be viable as a people, to be viable as a people, to be sustainable as a people. And that governance part, once it is fixed, right, it doesn't need any particular human being. I keep coming back to the car analogy. It doesn't need you. It doesn't need any particular human being. It will resolve issues. It will, but it is institutional. It will develop the people. So it's a body of rules on how things should be done, right? On how issues should be resolved, on how the people should be governed. And then it has the buy-in of the people. Once it has the buy-in of the people and the critical stakeholders, then that's it. You just said it. Your work is done. Your work is done. You've mobilized the people around. The people have bought into it. Now it is for the people, because they've bought into it, to preserve it. It is their own. I mean, we've preserved the chieftaincy institution for hundreds of years, right? Because the people believe in them, right? They're not perfect. They've gotten rid of worse things or even better things, but they've not gotten rid of the chieftaincy institutions. It has caused a lot of problem for them, but they still believe in it. Right? It's still evolving. It's a way of governing the things, and everybody keeps coming back to, well, African people are governed or from the lineage system, right? It's a way of organizing the people, the lineage system, but we've preserved it, right? What we have not done is to evolve it to reflect the current challenges and to make it sustainable, so it evolves forward, right? So we need a governance system that will be more reflective of where we are, because we have not evolved our institutions since we became Nigeria. We became part of Nigeria. We've not evolved them. We've been struggling within the Nigerian system. We have not evolved governance system that can exist in a mutually reinforcing, viable way in the modern political economy of Nigeria. And we need to do that.
Now, just before we round up, coming back to the concept, I like the analogy of the car and the driver. But even in making the car, I'm looking at the complexity of we as a people and vested interests. So when you look at vested interests, from the clan conversations to the vested interests of the party politicians to the vested interests of the chiefs and kings, even to the youths and all of that. So how do you get the buy-in of the people where there is such a multidimensional vested interest? How do you build the institution? Of course, like, it will happen over time, but with all the vested interests and all of that, how do you put the bits together to build that car?
Okay, and believe me, cricket is not the most complex system. In fact, certain marriages are more complex than cricket. And we're not even talking about really complex societies, right? the critical thing to make it short, right? Individuals must always compete. Individuals must always find a way of actualizing themselves, right? And at the very foundation of human society, there's always a scarcity of resources and unlimited ones, right? People will always find a way of pursuing self-interest. You cannot stop that. Stopping that will be recreating human beings. You cannot, right? And successful societies, what they have done, and what we need to do is to find a way of individuals to compete and succeed without that competition, that individual pursuit of individual self-interest, or harming the organization, the society's interest. That is, the society's interest must be defined. The society's vision, dreams must be defined in a way, and the institutions and governance system must be built in a way that individuals can compete under it, within it, without harming that overall, because the overall is able to subsume individual excesses. It's able to subsume individual competition. It's able to allow individuals to compete however they want and succeed or fail. So that is that kind of thing. And you can look at societies around you. Look at what's going on anywhere, any society, pick any society. The successful ones allow individuals to compete according to their capacity, fail or succeed, take responsibility, but they are not able to affect the social aspirations, because the aspirations of the society are big enough, right, to contain or subsume within it the individuals and the aspirations. Once you achieve that, then you find out that some of these tussles will just fizzle out, or there will not be issues. I mean, two people fighting over chieftaincy title can never derail the whole society. Why? Society and the governance system, the structures are set up in a way that they can do that without affecting it.
Yeah. So before we finish, I just want to again tell our listeners it's been a wonderful time so far with our dear brother, Dr. Joshua Gogo, who has a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering, a master's in computer information systems, an MA and a PhD in economics. And is a chartered investment manager, a certified balanced scorecard professional, and a fellow of the Canadian Securities Institute. Joshua, last points. What one advice would you have for the politicians who run our local government councils? What one advice would you have for the politicians that run our local government councils?
I think the only advice I have for them is that they should seek enlightened self-interest. There's nothing wrong in pursuing self-interest, but when self-interest is not enlightened, it means that you're not even seeing beyond your nose what is good for you. It's important to reflect on what you think is good for you, not just what is in it for you today, but that this society, as you know, it's what we make it to be. Politicians will come and go. I mean, society will remain, but if we find a way to destroy their cricket, then there's nothing to go back to. And so I always advise politicians, selfishness is crude. It's from a dark soul, right? Enlightened self-interest is from an enlightened soul. And you will find out that much of the things you pursue, where you put society first, by putting society first, you will have a way of reaping self-interest in a bigger way. There's no way you can destroy society and pursue and achieve your self-interest. It's not possible. You can't be part of it. I mean, you can't destroy the one thing that the vessel and have the water. Right? You are able to pursue self-interest because your self-interest because of the existence of society in the first place. How do you destroy it and still have the other? So enlightened self-interest means that the pie is bigger um, when you make it bigger, when you understand that your share of the pie will also be bigger when the pie is
It's
bigger.
bigger, yes. Yo, Baka man, I'm a Baka say them. So we've been speaking to Dr. Joshua Gogo. He talked about his passions, or Tamatamanana, or a Furona, or a Kiapuna, or a Menapuna, as well as or a Mana. Those are your passions, your God, family, friends, relatives, and your community. And your fears for cricket, Bessa, your fear of extinction. And like you mentioned, that since 1980, more than 50 languages in the world have become extinct. But there's a strength of our culture and the family structure. And in terms of your hope, you hope that we recognize our blessings as a coastal community to harness our natural resources, to build our economy, to modernize our economy and our way of life. And most importantly, you say we have to build institutions. If you build the car right, anybody can come and drive the car. But if you don't have a car, if you focus on the driver, then there'll be no car to drive you. Mebaka, it's been nice having you on Sir Ibi Gose. God
Thank
bless
you
you.
very much. This is really a privilege. It's a privilege, and I'm really blessed to be part of to be a son of cricket. I think much of what I am was given to me by cricket, and like I said, my biggest regret and disappointment is that at this age we've not really found a way to really give back in a way that you can say, yeah, from what I've been given, um, we are able to give this back for the next generation. It's a regret, and I hope that we're able to make it in a way that our children don't have to feel this way we feel.
Well, as the saying goes, the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The next best time is now. You, Mebaka, I'm not doing that's me.
Thank you.
All right, then.
God bless you. Yeah.
Take
Yeah.
care. Bye.